Us everyone. I trust everyone's well. Welcome back. Kyokushin Shuffle, the strongest karate series. I'm Sensei Pat Pinto. Thanks to everyone's support. I always acknowledge that. Great messages and really cool conversations of late in regards to the topics I've brought up, which has been exactly what my intention was in regards to this series, The Strongest Karate. You look, today's topic of conversation is around conditioning stamina. These words are used very often in the karate dojos and Kyokushin more so. And I wanted to, I guess, give again that balance of everyone that's listening to understand the balance of the non-Kyokushin person that's listening that may start Kyokushin. That is preferably the target audience in a way that I like to be talking to, that encourages them to understand this a little bit more in regards to, hey, there could be a chance this could suit me. Then there is obviously the current students that are training it, that encourages them to understand it in more detail and to have a reference point to check with their own senpais and senseis. And then obviously the higher ranked Kyokushin practitioners out there that are running karate, running dojos or teaching other students, as instructors, to also challenge and understand a little bit more of this space. And for me to learn more, forever the student is the saying, and there's no doubt I enjoy it thoroughly when people kind of ask me questions. And coincidentally, on the weekend, I was fortunate to attend a fight seminar under the VKKA, Victorian Kyokushin Karate Association. Thanks to Shihancho Gary Vickers and his team there, Shihan Robbie Adams and co, who offered the invite to all to join, which was fantastic, and a nice gesture that I accepted. And my son and I attended that, which was fantastic. It was great to see. But acknowledgement to all of those that came up to me and said g'day and thanked me for the podcasts in a way, or the recordings that we're doing, the conversations, and that they're benefiting a lot from it. Much appreciated. So hope that clears the slate again. I always like bringing that up, so whoever may be watching or listening starts to go, right, okay, we kind of get what Pat's going on about here. So the strongest karate continues to be the theme, and keeping the flame alive of what our forefathers / our seniors left us, to continue on in upholding, as I say, and holding the line for that term, because it is dear to my heart. It is dear to many that want to continue Kyokushin as the strongest karate. Stamina conditioning. Look, this part is needs to be broken up, I feel, and I'll break it up in regards to how the parts of conditioning are not as easy as it seems, and does have a factor in some new students not trialing it or not pursuing it further. Ideally, we have to, take care of the new students that do come in, and new meaning 0 to 12 months. I would put it under that banner. If you're training in our dojo to attain your blue belt, again, totally comparative to jujitsus and all these other belt systems. The blue belt is very, very basic towards understanding 12 months of training 2 to 3 times a week, and building up on the following, which is the conditioning side. So, we all have to keep in mind our body structure and our body weight around the fact that Kyokushin is renowned for its strong hits, strong punches, strong kicks, strong knees, and strong. What does strong mean? Well, this is the conditioning part. How people come up to me and say, "How do you do that? How can you just have someone kick your leg like that, Pat?" And people are probably nodding their head here, even if you're 1 year in, going, when I first started, and all of us that are listening to this started somewhere, right? And that is a key part of the conditioning growth. You started not knowing what was going to happen, or knowing meaning you may have been hit once or twice before with a thigh kick, but God forbid it was someone that knew how to kick legitimately, like karate fighters do, or striking fighters do, Muay Thai, for example, kickboxers. And we all started somewhere knowing that, holy crap, how hard is this going to hurt? How hard is this going to hurt? And the fear side of it, and the what's going to happen if this, I'm going to get injured. I'm digressing towards that. But all of a sudden, when you obviously doing whatever art it is, you progress, you are groomed, you are nurtured, you are watered, meaning you're taken care of, you have a good teacher, a good dojo, and you slowly start to get confidence, start to realize that it is part of the training, part of the way in getting stronger. And if you follow the steps, follow the process, as I call it, follow the method to the madness, you start to realize that these kicks are not as devastating, meaning because you're prepared and you've put in the hours of conditioning. So the kicks, as an example, is probably that and punches are the first two that gives everyone a bit of a fright in regards to, wow, if you were to ever get kicked like that. Now, we all say that everyone can kick the bag, right? We've seen all those students kick the hell out of bags, and you don't want to receive a kick from that person. There's no doubt, if you're not conditioned and you're not across where your body type and structure is, meaning 100-kilogram fighter against a 60-kilogram fighter. Okay, well, in the dojo, there's a method to the madness. It's not as walk in, stand here, and away we go. So to the new student that might be listening, or to the new up and comer walking through the door, we've all been there. We've all had to start somewhere. Trust your teachers, trust the process of it, because it is the best part of the growth and development once your body is conditioned to the extremes that it needs to be. So as a starting point, we have to, I guess, accommodate an age difference, a weight difference, a male, female, kids and teens. And there are some kids and teens out there at the moment that have some tremendous conditioning because of the structure of what their dojo is doing. So all kudos to your dojo in understanding and preparing the fighters or students with their conditioning. And the conditioning part that I've just spoken about is that physical body part of conditioning, which is very important. And then we're always saying, which is great, the signature Kyokushin handshake, they call it, which is the one-to-one student that are throwing one punch into each other, one for one. So you're punching me as I punch you into the tummy area, into the abdominal area, and it's 1, 2, and it picks up 3, 4. And traditionally, you're seeing higher ranks, those that are in quality fighters and very conditioned and very strong. Now, that is the Kyokushin handshake, we call it, in a way of signature because of the punches that we do into the tummy area. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. Let's stop right now. That does not happen overnight. That takes a lot of time. And even if you've done that for a long, long time, and then you've taken a couple of weeks or a month off in not doing it, it still takes a bit of time to do. So, we are putting some awesome content, we as in everyone in One Kyokushin, Sammy and the team there. If you follow at One Kyokushin on your Instagram, you will see the stories that Sammy and his team upload, and it's fantastic. It keeps us seeing what others are doing in their dojos, but keep in mind their level, their rank, their weight. Putting one of our 110 kg fighters up against a 70 kg fighter and ripping into it takes a lot of time. You can't just get to that point. So the kicks, the punches are the key ones of the conditioning side of why our body. And I instill into the kids. So my 5 to 8 year olds, my son's in that 5 to 8 year old bracket, and I train 9 to 10 of his best buddies, and best mates, and their routine is not even into the punching and kicking on each other yet. And that's been, I started the new dojo where I live in the Surf Coast only 8 months ago. So they're still in that progressive phase of getting their strength and understanding on push-ups, sit-ups, squats. However, in the teens, my daughter's division, so 9 to 12, 13-year-olds, there is punching and there is kicking, but it has to be managed. It has to be like managed, watched and overseen, because there is a big gap. There is a bigger difference and gap in size and weight and boys and girls. So even at that phase, again, 6 to 8 months in, it's slowly progressive and getting there. And then in the adults, if you're a white to blue belt, a white belt within, depending on your age, can come in and say, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm, go for it. It's okay." Never do it. Never do it. So, because it is very, very, difficult to just, cop a leg kick and then think you can walk it off. That's why we call it the Kyuk Shin shuffle. There's a shuffle for a reason. So be sure that you're following a structure with your teacher and your dojo if you're beginning and at those age groups. If we now advance it and talk it into the intermediate and advanced areas, now you've been in the system for 2, 3, 4 years. Now you've seen how we progress and work towards, hours of adding this, I call it the banking system. So, twice a week, 5 minutes after class, grab a similar level or ask or call a higher belt. If it's okay, that's how we acknowledge it in our dojo. We say, "Us, is it okay if I can get some leg kicks tonight?" And having someone that's been doing it for a long time who understands the conditioning process of how your body's going to develop, mature, and more so recover, is very important. And I call it the banking system. 2 times a week, you're at the dojo, hypothetically, and on top of, so there is already conditioning happening with the sensei or the Shin, and then afterwards you may want a little bit more. Know your body, talk to your seniors, and understand the process. And that develops in that, I feel, that yellow belt up to that brown belt phase where, you're starting to get confidence. You're starting to, your body's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And that is a very key part of the strongest karate component. It takes a long time, which then gets to that part where people are in that bewildered, I guess, look on their face when they go, how do you guys accept these kicks? So now we're moving into that brown belt phase, a 6, 7, 8, 9 year training student. And that's the cool bit, I feel. That's the impressive part of Kyokushin. It sounds a bit naive to just stand there and as the punches into the tummy and you're seeing those footages. Naive meaning, well, you both know you're doing it, but it's part of this conditioning process. And I hope you're all following it correctly. And I hope there isn't dojos that are going above and beyond in a immature way and affecting someone's journey. And I hope I don't see too many responses of that. And I hope I'm seeing feedback that your dojo has a conditioning process of becoming, stronger and not overnight in process. And, the longevity of the student, it becomes positive. It doesn't become negative. Of course, there are implications with what we do. If we're not wearing shin pads, gloves, we're going to be prone to more, injuries of muscle and tendons and ligaments because of the contact. But that's what builds it up. So I hope the conditioning side of your dojo is doing that. Then we move towards this level of conditioning where you've got the muscles being hit and receiving and being hit. And then one of the key parts that I wanted to bring up was how important two parts of our bodies, I feel, in Kyokushin karate, in making it the strongest karate, in making that, mystique of people trying to comprehend how the body is capable of doing what it's doing. Again, this is at the latter stage of your training and doing it for like I said, anywhere between 6 to 10 years now of full contact karate training consistently. Your body has matured. Your everything has advanced itself to the point where these two body parts are the creme de la creme in Kyokushin, and that is your shins, and knuckles. Which one's my good one? Well, they're all copying them. They're all popped in some. There you go. There's a good angle on that one. There you go. So let's go with the shins. And then again, I won't have to break it down to the beginner. Go talk to your kohai. Go talk to your kohai in regards to Sensei Pat may have mentioned shin conditioning. You have to understand the journey of where your shin conditionings are at. Okay, they take a lot of time. It is dangerous too because the shin bone is very fragile if it's not matured with the right type of training. Jump on the Kyokushin shuffle. I do some bag work techniques, long bag work techniques. 90% of the long bag techniques when I've been using it is to condition my shins, is to use it for that right angle of kicking to condition the shins more so, and conditioning meaning the contact, the hits. There are multiple ways to condition your shins. You have to trust the process. The Muay Thai fighters and kickboxers have got great shin conditioning as well. But for Kyokushin, we're a closer fighting style in regards to knockdown karate tournaments and, of course, in gradings. So because of our close style, because we're not punching directly to the face with our bare fists, we have a different use of our shins because of the range. Okay, so because of our range, we can use our shin in different ways of hitting the quad, the ribs, and the head, and so on. Look into it, deep dive. But one of the key parts of the, again, spectacle of why Kyokushin is the strongest karate is our shins. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if you feel it's something else other than the shins and the knuckle and our fists. That part of our shins, there's no doubt in my mind if you've competed in tournaments, you're probably nodding your head. You can feel when someone has conditioned their shins. You can feel the level of sharpness as I call it, sharpening the blade. And the blade is at that shin. And it's a nice long part of, weapon to an extent of what we are doing with the kicks. You do not want that across your forearm, up here in the arm. If you're defending, can break the arm, can break the forearm here across too many times. If you lift your rib, there you go. You got all this room for a leg kick to come through across the shin or foot, and then down the bottom of our calves, all the way up to our quads. And then not forgetting the neck. God forbid a shin goes across your neck or around this head region here. Lights out. Lights out. Let's keep the theme again, the strongest karate. So to the students out there in understanding the conditioning element of the shins, look into it a lot more. Look into it a lot more. From the shin, it'll progress to the foot, obviously, meaning, you can't just condition the shin. You got to condition your foot as well. But the shin is a starting point. And those that have got strong shins start to have one of the toughest defensive games that complement their offensive game. Defensive game meaning blocking the shin blocks or, checking, and how to check and why to check and when to check. Okay. Ask your kohai, again, or ask me some questions if you're interested further. Defense can't, meaning it creates offense. You have to be cautious of the shin and the calf muscles, whether again, there's two elements to it. There's the knockdown conversation. And if you're not a fighter and you're grading and you're helping fighters, you too have to have strong shins. There shouldn't be a substitute. There shouldn't be I don't fight full contact, so I shouldn't really have to condition my shins. Bullshit. You have to do both. You must do both. You cannot have the top fighters in your dojo. Again, I compare it and remind people, we have 20 adults in our dojo here in Nunawading. in Melbourne, 20. And of those 20, 2 or 3 are in full contact karate fightings. Now that's no discredit to my dojo. That is a credit to my dojo that we have that many. There are some dojos that have less than that or have more than that. That's okay, but it's not everyone, is my point. I pull me up if your dojo has 20 adults and all 20 are full contact, not novices, and full contact, where no shin pads, no gloves. So in our dojo, we've got, fortunately, state champions and some national champions under our banner. And that time frame of fighting, and again in the conditioning window to be at the premium, at the highest level, my premium level of that journey was, I got my brown in 2006 and I retired fighting in 2016, legitimate full contact karate fighting. So it was a 10-year window, and that was, touching wood as always, with the exception of me, and not pumping up the tires here, but I'm just trying to acknowledge it. I was fortunate. I never had a long-term injury. Broken leg, broken arm, broken rib, broken. And again, that's not to scare anyone. It's just to understand the absolute due diligence that I covered with my Shin in making sure my body was fully conditioned and ready to go. Fully conditioned. I couldn't put it any other way. I don't know. You know where I'm coming from. The hours and hours and hours. And I'll give you a quick story here on how I took massive precedent in my shins being at the point of a tournament fighter in not bowing out in the first round due to a bump or a bruise. And it automatically happens no matter what. You check one leg kick on the shin, you're wearing that bruise. If you haven't conditioned your shin, you're wearing that for, if you progress into the next, round 2, round 3, semi-final, final. And man, did I listen to my Shin? I'm talking, again, with the banking system, banking meaning every night, conditioning my shins with a small baseball bat. It's, one of my students has got it. I made it in woodwork in 1994, like when I was in year 10. It was about that big, and I've still got it, and rolling it and watch and learn all the ways people condition their shins. And then it got to a point where we took it to another level where our long bag, so floor to ceiling long bag, we took out the rags that were in it and we put sand in it. And the traditional makiwara training of the shins and fists is in that form of, sand bags. And we had our sand in our long bag at Shian's dojo. And it got to where all the sand it felt like concrete. It felt like concrete. You had some students walk in not knowing that it had sand in there, and they would kick it and nearly break their foot. Like the yelps that we would hear, because students didn't know that it was rags anymore. It was all sand. So we took it to that level. Now, I didn't kick that bag like a fool. I stayed back after class and religiously did 50 on the right leg and 50 on the left leg 3 to 4 times a week. And this is from my black shirt, like when I was fighting 06. And then we were in that dojo till 2012. So for 5-6 years, progressively, again, from about that green brown belt level, not as white belt. If you were doing it as white belt, I can't put any more caution up. Do not jump into that extreme. Mature. Take care of your shins. They last for so long, but you've got to treat them as your swords. So the conditioning element there gives you a little bit of a background of how key it is to not forget the fundamentals of the conditioning side of your body, but then sharpening up, again, these two that I'm talking about now, the shins. Number 2, fists. I love this. This was my cup of tea, I used to call it. Now, the fists, ever since I watched the clip of Sosai Masayama talk about the fist, and I'm sure most of you may have, but if you haven't, I don't know how you'll find it. I'll try and find it at a later date and put the link up. He talks about, if you cannot strengthen and condition your fist, to a point where it is breaking and damaging your opponent, again, we're talking knockdown fighting here, then that's your fault. That's your problem. If you don't know how to clinch your fist, condition your fist, and get it to a point where your fist can knock down and break someone, and ever since I heard that's when I went, I've got two of them. I've got two of them, and in the elements of Kyokushin knockdown karate, the strongest karate, these are the keys. These are massive parts of our game in changing, and the part of the body that we can strike at. No striking on the back, no striking to the face. We have a window of shoulders to waist to use our hands. All of this space, front, a little bit to the side, not around the back, as we all know, most of you. So these were a key part of my game because the shins were ticked, covered. Then you get to your fists, your fist / hand / wrist and elbows as to the conditioning of it. Now, 101 is going to be push-ups as a starting point, which we all encourage our white belts and so on. And if you're listening, YouTube Sensei Pat push-up routine, you'll see an intermediate, a beginner, intermediate, advanced push-up routine. Again, those clips that I put up under the Kumite Fit banner were for those over COVID that were, hey, Sensei Pat, what do you suggest? What do you suggest? What do you suggest? So I put an app together, thanks to all those that supported the app at that time. That was now the content that's up on the YouTube channel to help you progress in a fundamental, basic way. The advanced way, or the extra things you need to do, is if you can use some of those exercises that I put up in basics and fundamental. They are only basic and fundamental exercises. I've written advanced, and that is for the brown, if you get to that green, brown, black level and you're not at that stage of my push-up set, then you won't be able to progress or progress further with those sets. And that means you've got to continue to get your fists and hands stronger, like your shins, like the sandbag that I was talking about. That was an add-on. That's, as we call, extra work. You should be doing the work. The work is the push-ups, the makiwara punching the bags, the punching the kick shields, whatever it needs to be. That's just standard. And that'll get your fists strong, but you want them to be the strongest they possibly can. Then it comes into extra training. The hardest part with the conditioning of the hands, and again, being blown away, as they say, with how hard we can punch and accept each other's punches on our chests. And then for the naked eye, everyone's like, what is going on? How crazy is Kyokushin karate? We want it to get to a point where our hands don't break, right? Or our thumbs aren't jarred, or our fingers get jarred, or we've got issues like this, broken fingers from just years and years of fighting. The element that you have to go through is back to what this theme was about. It is a process. There is a method to the madness. You cannot just strengthen your hand and wrist within, less than 3 to 6 months. It takes a lot of time. And again, our punches are different to boxing punches, MMA punches, kickboxing punches. If you understand what I'm getting at there, they wear gloves. Fair enough. They wear gloves. They have to. But the gripping of putting your hands in boxing gloves is that your wrists are taped. Your hands are thoroughly taped in boxing, kickboxing, and in MMA. They're the 3 key ones off the top of my head. Kyokushin hands are not taped, being smartass. They're not taped. They're not taped. Reason why I'm trying to put this message out more and more is to the strongest karate of Kyokushin. Our hands are not taped. People watch me punching the long bag at our gym, at Hammer's Gym in Nunawading. And there are components where I use MMA gloves if need be, where I don't want to, get my skin off my knuckles. But that's the beginner intermediate phase. Now, after 20 years of doing it, you shouldn't have that issue if you're keeping your hands active and conditioned. But some look at me in a manner of, look at this guy, what a bit of a show off. And it's like, no, this is Kyokushin karate. We practice and maintain our fists not taped. So 1, I'm not taped. 2, I'm not wearing gloves. And 3, I'm punching the shit out of it. I'm punching it very hard at times to condition my whole arm, my body, my frame, everything. And then there's keys to, where we're striking and how we're striking. And I'm pointing to the front 2 knuckles there, right? Which is then the component of when you do your push-up. Your push-up should have these like that. Front 2 knuckles, not those knuckles working. Those knuckles working. And you'll see that in the YouTube of my push-up sets. So I'm tired. I feel like I've already been kicked and hit just talking about this topic, but I'm very passionate about that side of the conditioning elements to Kyokushin. And that is just the legs and hands in a way, let alone our whole body. And even another session years and years ago that Xian Judd took, and one of his key, as you all can see by his videos, and I can't recommend them enough, as to how he conditioned his body for the 100-man Kumite and those that have competed in the 100-man, but more so him, because at one of his camps he said, if you can condition meaning, put your body through its extreme pace of being hit, punched, and recovery from your shoulders down, and conditioning every part of your body possible. Now think of the 2 things I've just said, shins and fists, let alone all the whole part of your body. And what he's trying to get at is, if you get hit in those areas, the rest of your job is to just keep your hands up and obviously not get hit here, because that's where a knockout's going to occur. But the rest of the body in an elite level, in the elite level of being a world champion like he was, and 100-man Kumite, then you don't need to worry about anything. And when you hear that, you end up going, well, shit, how the hell am I going to get it to that point? I'm not like someone like me. I'm not a full-time karateka. I don't run a full-time dojo, and I need to get my body to that extreme. That's the part I love about Kyokushin. There is no limit. So you just continue to build and continue to get your body to that pinnacle. And if you get it to this pinnacle, amazing. It's better than that. So if the hundreds and world champions are at this pinnacle up here, let's call that the ultimate, and then there's Sosai's type of, strength and power, well, then keep trying to attain it. Keep trying to attain it. And that's when we see those footages of those elite, strong, conditioned practitioners, students, fighters, whatever it may be. A part that's just come up into my head then was, we talk about fighting a lot, but what about those that aren't fighting and that are grading? And bless you students out there that don't want to fight. That's fine. That's just a sport component of Kyokushin, the full contact side of it. But we still are going to find a way to get you in full contact for your gradings. My dojo, from green and above, in a senior grading, once a year we have our senior grading, our green belt. At the end of the senior grading, along with browns and blacks up to that level, Shodan, those approaching their Shodan, they will need to do the 4 or 5 hours of grading plus. And then in the end, the green belt will do 20, depending on their age, 20 to 25 rounds, 1-minute rounds with the higher belts, full contact, no shin pads, no gloves. And then green, brown, 30, and then brown, 30, 35, and then black tag, anywhere up to that 35, 40, depending on age again. And then the ultimate is the Shodan goes through that final 5 fights up to their 40th with everyone else off the mat, and up against their senior peers that push them through their final stage. So my point is, in understanding that full contact part of it, that's the high end. But if you're a white to yellow at the moment, take your time, build your confidence, use the banking system of twice a week, 10 minutes, twice a week, 5 minutes, conditioning your shins off the mat, to get it to that readiness of when you start to potentially be a green and a brown in Kumite tournament or Kumite sparring. When we spar at the dojo, we are wearing in our dojo, we alternate. If we're preparing for a tournament, I keep the shin pads on as long as I can. No injuries is the theme. No injuries. Why would you want an injury going into a tournament? You're going to be in trouble. You want to condition the shins. We have certain routines and drills and exercises that prevent an injury, because the shins, if they're not conditioned, will be a fault in your game in progressing for tournament. Those that are working towards grading, prepare the same way. Wear the shin pads to give you some reassurance, some confidence. Be cautious of how you kick though, because with shin pads, you feel like there's openings everywhere. And then when there is a check, it doesn't feel as bad, or it's not going to come off even worse. So lots to keep in mind. It's very, very difficult. Don't even think for a second that it's easy. And those that are just starting and that are maybe hesitant, know that there's a process, and know that all of us, meaning your kohai, meaning your students above you, have all been through it, have all had to go through it. And that mystique and energetic, powerful Kyokushin knockdown kick comes from lots and lots of hours of work, like it would if you were doing jiu-jitsu, like it would if you were doing Muay Thai and all those beautiful other arts, MMA. It doesn't just happen overnight. Keep progressing. Make sure there's a method to it. There's some tips and tricks on my YouTube channel. Ask your teachers. Get to a dojo. If you're listening here and you're not sure, ask questions to your instructor. One of the highest parts of Kyokushin questions is, hey, listen, I've never done it before. I'm not here to get injured and hurt. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that message needs to be put forward more and more, because there is this just almighty extreme of content that's out there in our faces in Kyokushin of, hey, have a look at these black belts punching each other up and all these types of words, where we seniors know that that's just part of a drill, or that's just part of their level. That's fine. That's a standard. But to the naked eye and to others, they're blown away. There is a fear element. And be honest, it is what it is. It's you have to put, as I say, give it perspective and put yourself in their shoes, and put yourself back into your shoes when you were a beginner as well. But let's keep the flame alive, keep the conditioning. I think I said I was going to talk about stamina today. Well, that's out the window. Let's talk about that on the next topic, because that is even a complementary side of conditioning. A big goes to you all. That's how I can just get on my high horse there and not stop. People are probably like, get up for air, Sensei Pat. It ain't happening. I hope you got something out of it. Keep training hard. Keep kicking ass. Keep helping your lower grades. Keep helping your higher grades. And more so, keep the strongest karate alive. A big goes to you all. Also, everyone, thanks for listening. Take care. Train hard.